Para mí es un honor, ya como por cuarta ocasión, si no estoy mal, tenerlos acá en el canal y pues yo quisiera comenzar preguntándoles, bueno, ¿cómo fue que el
Espérame.
momento de ustedes escribir, cómo se centraron en el tema del misterio, del terror, para que toda esa trascendencia se llegue?
Okay, first question. How was the moment in which you decide to focus entirely, not only in writing, but in creating these atmospheres, this universe, these subjects, these thematics in your career?
Um, as in all of the stories or any particular story? Everything?
All everything, like the beginning.
I started writing in my teens, 15, 16, 17. I did a lot of that, when I was growing up. Mary and I got together and, started working together in the 90s.
I've never done any writing myself. I've always done collaborating with him on stories since we met.
Right. We kick ideas back and forth. We figure out, well, what do you think about this storyline or that storyline, or how should we approach this character or that character? So that's, to say when we started, book one.
Our very first book was the guide. That's when we start. Well, Dark Army was first.
No, guide was first.
The guide was first because it was published in 1999.
Dice que Gran comenzó a escribir desde adolescente. En los 90, cuando se juntaron, es increíble porque Mary me dice que ella nunca había escrito, pero ella lo que hace es, o sea, es como comparten las ideas, por así decirlo, de los temas que tienen que tratar. Y claro que sí, The Guy fue su primer libro en 1999, pero a mí lo que parece increíble es cómo se logra eso. Y él dijo algo muy gracioso, de verdad, pero ¿para qué quieren saber cómo empezamos? Por guay, o sea, porque es más que todo cómo ellos conversan para lograr eso. O sea, lo importante no es el inicio, sino más bien lo que se logra.
Oh, entonces, cuando se logra el momento del terror, de cómo son las personas, ¿cuál es el momento en que el ser humano tiende a conocerse a sí mismo en sus libros?
Okay, when the knowledge of people, as we can say, started with the boots and of course with the guy, how can the reader know more about himself, maybe his dark side, I don't know, or his hidden side, when he start reading your books, not only the guide, but the books that can follow it? Because, like you said before, people can say maybe that the guy is a vampire book, but I associate more like the capacities that the people can have, of course, the hidden societies, or in vampire line, no, that you say. You never mentioned the word vampire or something.
I would say, generally, all of the characters we create, they have good inside, bad inside, So everybody, I think, maybe you don't focus, maybe when you read the guide, you don't, focus yourself as much on Eddie Laidlaw, the main character in the guide, and you see it and you like Sebastian better, or Rita Janelle or Rachel or one of those other characters. You see more of that character's personality or issues in yourself, because every story, every book has a wide variety of characters from good to evil. Andrew has his days where he's just, originally for the Vampire line, Andrew was written just not evil, but he was just a bad guy, straight bad guy. He didn't do anything good. But as it progressed through the series, you have him do things like he protects. Oh, I can't think of the gypsy's name. What's the gypsy's name?
Oh my God.
Karina.
Karina.
Right. He protects Karina when another group of people are going to attack her.
But he doesn't turn her. Ever.
But he never turns her. There's a lot of, I don't know how people, will view it. If you get into Dark Army, you have a whole bunch of characters there that vary from the warrior type, the hard, serious warrior types, to ones that are not warriors, that they need that protection. But again, you have that different element of characters. I think I try to put that, or we try to put that in all of the books.
To where there's possibly one character that you can grab onto and put yourself into the story while you're reading it.
Yeah.
That's what I do when I do a first read through of his typing the stories into the computer. I have gotten myself to where I can put myself into the story and be in the story as one of the characters. It's been because we've been together for so long, right? And I can see myself, through the eyes of even Andrew. I mean, even anybody, like it's up on a screen, like I'm watching it in the movies. That's how I can see it.
Here's some quick trivia for the people watching. You'll see the hands on here on the book, right? The hands on the book.
Yes.
These hands are these hands.
My hands.
Her hands.
What a great trivia.
I took the picture. These are my knives, and we used a skeleton hand from Halloween. Wow. And then the background picture, that my cousin took that picture, and that's the cover for Guide. And then a friend of ours, Ryan Neal, put it all together to make it work. Same thing with these two covers. Mm-hmm. My cousin took the picture, both pictures, and then we worked on them here, and then Ryan came over and he helped us finish them up. Just some trivia for people that, like the books, read the books, And
another question. And it's crazy what you say, because it kind of reminds me the art that got, the heavy metal covers.
Uh-huh.
And I was saying that, yes, it seems 3D, but it's not 3D at all. And now it's a photograph. Wow.
Yeah, it's a photograph on top of a photograph.
I need to translate that to Jhon. Jhon, sé que es mucho, pero te tengo que dar un dato. ¿Sabes cómo se hizo la portada? Jhon, las manos son de Mary, los cuchillos son de Grant, y el fondo es una foto que tomó el primo, que de hecho fue el mismo que diseñó las hermosas portadas de Vampire Line. Yo por eso le dije que yo sentía esa sensación de 3D. Él dice que es una trivia que quiere dar a sus lectores, a los que saben que han leído esos libros, y algo bueno que resume todo, Jhon, y creo que eso lo sentiste tú con Eddie, que sé que Eddie fue tu favorito en The Guide. Así como pues Andrew en Vampire Line, es que lo loco, por ejemplo, dice que ellos pensaron a Andrew en Vampire Line como un ser malo, no maligno, sino malo, completamente malo, que de repente comienza a hacer cosas buenas, podría decirse, como proteger a Karina, tú sabes, la gitana, que entonces se desdibuja esa línea, bueno, pero él no era completamente malvado, además recordando obviamente que se dice que en Vampire Line nunca se menciona la palabra vampiro. Dice, por eso es que ellos crean muchos personajes para que uno se identifique, uno diga, me voy más por esta, por ejemplo, voy por el lado de Eddie, pero puedo irme por el lado de Sebastián, por ejemplo, y pues yo siento que, no sé si preguntar algo, es también por la forma en que ellos redactan los diálogos.
Pregúntale.
No, and in fact, a trivia as a reader, how do you, because I have to congratulate you in the fact of the really great writing of dialogues.
Mm-hmm.
As I said the last time, I when I read the Vampire Line, for me it was even like some kind of philosophy books. I really loved the phrases, and of course I was reading the phrases, and then the action happens. It was, oh my god, because I was so into the minds of the people, how it came together, because I know that you write and I know that you help to create the writing, because it's like being a scavenger of the minds of the characters. It's so and dialogues for me are so, yes, so intuitive. So how do you do it? Tell us. You have to tell us, man. Yes, Iran, you have to tell us.
How I come up with the dialogue?
Yes, because I love it, man. Every dialogue. I fucking love it.
He has a very creative mind. It blows me away too when I do a first read through. I'm sitting here and I'll read something that he has first written and I'll go, really, Grant? Or something will be a tongue in cheek, like a joke. And I'll start laughing and he'll go, okay, what part are you reading?
Yep.
So sometimes it's a surprise to me too, so he just has a very creative mind.
What I think helps in my work, right? Because and this is a lot of the day, I could be out in the yard, working on the yard, but while I'm physically doing this, that, or the other, right? At the same time, I will have conversations going on between my characters, going, oh, what would Andrew do in this situation? What would Dalton do? What would, different characters from different stories do depending on the situation? I do the same thing when I'm at work. When I'm at work working on machines. When Mary and I, at one point, in one of our jobs, we used to walk because work was close enough. We could walk back and forth to work. And in that walk, I would run scenarios in my head. We would even talk about storylines. Well, we can't walk to work anymore, but, same thing. And she's my sounding board. She comes back and tells me, hey, this doesn't really work. How are you going to explain this?
If I don't understand it, how is somebody reading it going to understand it?
Because she's got more insight into my brain than you guys do, for sure.
But I really love it. It is the like the landscape you've been walking, man. I'm really digging it because first time I feel that this looks like kind of medieval, but you tell me that it's a photograph. Oh, but it's beautiful. This exercise of walking is something I recommend to people that want to write. But wow. Now you let me at a stage of walking and imagining the characters. And in fact, yes, that's something that intrigues me because the universe of the books exists, yes, but I feel that this universe can be translated, and you show us, of course, with the series, but I feel that it can be transported to even the own scenarios that the reader can create, because I sympathize with the characters, and I was, oh yes, how could it be if I somehow find them on the street and then they start talking to me? Let me ask you about how do you, because you tell me that the other time that you wrote like in a cinematographic way, yes, how this has become in the translation to the smaller video screen, and I hope there is some plans for more adaptations. I hope. I really hope.
Oh, there's lots more plans for more stories. We have a whole bunch of stuff that's in the computer that's waiting to be published.
We have 42 stories.
Vampire Line has 42 stories. My werewolf story, which is not published, there's 3 books on it. Dark Army, there's 2 books on it. One of those is not published yet. Banished Worlds has 3 books on it, not published, 2 of which are not published yet. We have a whole bunch of stuff to get published. We just time. It's just a matter of time.
I just have to get busier.
And there is something I love both of you, because when we talk like the chats in the Facebook, and in fact I will punch Jhon, okay, because in fact I didn't remember the time that we talked with Ron Kelly that he was the actor from Narnia. And the thing that I want to tell you is the following. I always, because in my city the writers doesn't like and doesn't, they are not concerned about the power of other media like movies and even the commercial. I love it, by the way, the big budget or the B movies, but also the potential of video games. You have told me that you also love it. And what can you tell about the new writers? Because sometimes I feel not what you, but the people when I grew up, they don't like this media. They say, "Oh, so you are going to start writing? Please don't play video games. Please don't watch movies about adventures." But what can you tell about them, the new writers, about the power of this media to creating, to write histories? Because I also feel that you are fans of the movies, the action movies, the video games, the sagas.
Well, we are fans of those other medias, of all of them. We spend free time, watching other movies, watching other series. But that's our release, That's kind of to, clear the mind. And, now, of course, you have questions come up and go, oh, wow, why did they go that way? Why did this writer write that direction? What made them think that was okay? Years ago, in one of the books, when I was first studying writing, and I don't remember which book, and I don't remember who wrote the quote, but it was put to me in this book, right? And the way they explained in this book, and I use this as my own personal guide for writing, that just as an example, if you're writing a book that has a wizard in it, and for that wizard to do magic, he has to have blue dove feathers, just as an example. He has to have blue dove feathers to make his magic work. Well, then when he's out of blue dove feathers, you can't suddenly have him do it some other way without an explanation of how you got there, when the original was he had to have blue dove feathers. So I try to use that as my guide when I'm writing, and when I see issues like that from other storylines, whether it's written in something something I am reading, if it's a book that I'm reading, or rather it is something I've watched on TV or a movie, that kind of takes the magic out of it, of the movie, of the moment. To me, it's just a little technical glitch for me, but I think if you're going to be a new writer, or if you're an old writer, it doesn't matter. You want to be consistent in how that character is portrayed. If my vampire goes out in the sun and gets baked, and then all of a sudden he can go out in the sun and doesn't get baked, why? What changed? How did I explain that to the reader?
Yeah, it just can't be something that happens and you don't explain it. Because
Right.
then they're going to go, well, this guy doesn't know what he's doing because he's not even explaining to me why. We
Right.
see that on TV all the time, and Grant and I are sitting here going, wow, horrible writing. But we watch it anyway, so because we can't do anything about it, So
Hopefully, and you guys reading the books, if you see something in there that you think is, weird,
or that
please let us know.
Yeah, that doesn't read right.
Because I would rather hear from the fan that says, hey, what happened? How did you do that?
How are you going to explain all this to Jhon?
No, I will do it faster.
Okay.
And yes, that I always are sorry, I'm always afraid of that writing and watching movies. Oh, the famous Deus Ex Machina, like what happened? And I understand, yes, it's necessary to avoid that. Yo le expliqué rápido algo importante. Todo es escrito en caminatas, lo que parece increíble. John, no me vas a creer que hay una segunda parte, no me vas a creer que hay dos partes más, no me vas a creer que hay 42 historias más de Vampire Line, porque yo le... Y John, un consejo muy importante que le dan a los escritores, eso lo aplica grande. Si tu mago está usando plumas azules para hacer magia y de repente deja de hacer esa magia, no le puedo hacer eso al lector porque entonces el lector va a decir, bueno, ¿y por qué dejo de hacer esa magia? Es el consejo que dan los escritores. O sea, por ejemplo, y él dice que invita a los lectores, a los fans, de que si encuentran inconsistencias, que se las hagan saber, porque él dice, si tu vampiro lo mata a la luz del sol y de repente empieza a salir al sol y no le explicas al lector por qué pasa eso, dice que ese es el mayor error y que por eso a ellos les gusta ver todo ese tipo de películas, le conté el error que obviamente las películas, los videojuegos, para ver cómo van esas inconsistencias y darse cuenta cómo lo hacen. Mi amigo, continúa.
Ah, eso es una increíble explicación y respuesta. Además, yo tengo dos preguntas, dos análisis importantes. Primero, yo sé que en The Guy ellos dijeron cuando estuvo el Ronker y Jimmy Blago sobre la entrevista, ellos mencionaron que entre Ron Kelly y nosotros somos parte de The Guy. Quiero preguntarle sobre en qué aspecto somos The Guy. Y segundo, o sea, la persona que está en esta portada, ¿cómo fue? Porque no es que me haya soñado con ella, sino yo tengo un ejemplo. Lo que pasa es que yo tuve la fotografía del papa que la ponía mi mamá todos los días y pensaba que me miraba cada rato cuando iba para la izquierda y para la derecha y siento como esa imagen creepy. Entonces quisiera preguntarle esas dos cosas.
Gracias porque quería preguntarle eso. Thank goodness John asked this because if not, I will be the person that asking two things. Why I remember Mary tell us that in that interview with Ron and Jean that maybe we can be part of the guy, but why? And second, yes, what is that beautiful and mysterious girl? Because John feel, and it's crazy what he say, that sometimes he feel like watched by her, like oh please don't stare at me that. So what is the story about this photograph? By the way, I love it, and it reminds me, of course, that got the 90s feeling. But wait, why can we be part of the guy and the history about this photograph?
The photograph was chosen by the publisher. We had no...
And that's 30 years ago.
That was 30 years ago. They sent us a picture. The original picture that was on the cover is not that picture. It was a horrible picture, so we refused it. That's the picture they sent us, that they republished the book with that picture. They picked that picture probably in a library of women in a picture with a glass. And that's where that cover came from.
Yeah.
Was Author House.
If it's a model, we don't know her name or any of that. We never had any contact with her.
Or who she is or where she is.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago.
If she's 30 there or 20 there, she is now 50.
Yeah.
And what will be your choice, and what are the choice that you got for the cover back in the days? And like, oh man, I would prefer this choice from a cover from the guy.
That's exactly it. They did a different cover originally. The publisher did, and we did not like the cover. It was wrong.
Let me see if I can find it.
It's right on that shelf.
Yes. Para conseguir la portada original.
She's going to look for the other book, the other cover. It's okay. Up there.
Don't worry.
And as far as yourselves being in the guide, I mean, we wrote that 30 some years ago, so you guys were never in the guide. But when you read it, if you feel like like you connect with characters, that's great. That's an ideal situation, you know, because the guide was, it's a different kind of vampire book. As far as vampires go, it's DNA based. So it's in everybody's DNA. And maybe that's, you know, what Mary was explaining the last time, because you could be a vampire, it's in everybody's DNA. So you could be a vampire. You could turn into a vampire at 6 or 60 or never, but it's in everybody's DNA, but not everybody turns. So unless you turn, you don't know vampires exist. That's the way the storyline is in the guide. And then you have two opposing forces. You have the guide, which is a group of vampires that are basically good guys, you know, and then you have the followers of Delvar. And the followers of Delvar, they see humans as food, you know, so they're just killer vampires. So the two forces fight through the book. That's the way the guide works, you know.
I will tell my friend Jhon,
Tell him.
while we're waiting from Mary. Jhon, está buscando la portada original porque fue una locura. Esta fue una que escogieron, habían escogido una portada que tal vez no les gustó. Y esta portada fue escogida por ellos, o sea, por los editores. Ellos no saben, puede que esa mujer ahorita tenga sus...
I'm going to grab the book.
Okay.
Grant's going to grab the book.
Okay.
I can't find it.
No, it's okay. I'm listening. Jhon, la cuestión de por qué podemos ser parte de la guía, aunque eso fue escrito hace 30 años, probablemente el ADN de la persona que pueda estar en la guía, o sea, si lo tenemos, se puede activar a los 6 o a los 60 años, porque son vampiros basados en el ADN. ¿Cuál es la cuestión acá? Que hay dos partes, ¿no? La guía, que son los vampiros buenos, y los seguidores del bar, que son los vampiros que buscan a la gente como comida. Esa es la original. Show it. That's the one that you hate or you love.
Let me finish.
You done?
Good.
Ready?
Yes.
That's the original cover of the guide.
The one that you hate.
Yeah, we weren't real thrilled with this one.
Looks like she has a beehive hairdo, and it's actually a lampshade.
It looks like something out of The Bride of Frankenstein.
Es como la Bruja Oscura.
It's horrible. We turned it down, and they actually published some of the books with this cover on it.
Yeah.
Before we told them no.
Jhon, es que esa fue la original. Ellos dijeron no, dicen que es comparada a la novia Frankenstein. Y entonces ellos
como
dijeron,
la Maga Oscura, como mezclada con polvo.
Sí, no, aunque en esa época no estaba Yu-Gi-Oh, estaría tal vez en las cartas, creo.
Ajá.
Y es muy chistoso porque esta, la que escogieron, la escogió el publicista, pero tal vez buscando la foto con la chica con el vaso, pero que es una locura porque, o sea, como que, o sea, fue algo inesperado. Para mí, yo creo que fue una buena opción.
Pues bueno.
Pero pues dice que eso fue hace 30 años. Good. Ok, mi amigo continúa. Estoy disfrutando. Los demás libros, dale.
A ver, ya hablamos de Dead Army y de Guy. Ahora quiero hablar sobre Vampire Line, las dos partes. ¿Cómo se volvieron influenciados o cómo ustedes conocieron para que se unan Tina Bell, Ginny Blaylock, Anna Steven? Por favor.
Okay.
I don't know if you could tell us, but if you, for us, it would be a blessing. How this amazing union of forces with Tina Bell, Jim Blaylock, and Anna Steven happened.
Well, okay, so how did we all get hooked up? Is that the question?
Yes.
Start with Anna. She was first.
Okay, so we met Anna through a friend of ours, a director that we know that was shooting something. And we met Anna we were on the set that is what they were shooting, and that's where we met Anna. And that's where, we started talking about things to do, storylines to do. Tim, we met Tim actually through Facebook to start with. I did. And then so after that, we got into conversations. Then we changed phone numbers and started talking to each other on the phone, planning the Vampire Line.
And we set up a lunch meeting with him.
Yep.
And we went to lunch with him. And that's how we started the relationship with him.
Yep. And then he introduced us to another friend of his, a writer-actor friend of his, Jhon Vogel. Jhon Vogel helped us with with the vampire line for a little while, and then he got busy, and he introduced us to Gene. So that's how Gene Bladelock and his crew got involved, which was great because Gene's amazing.
Amazing director.
We have two amazing actors. We have an amazing director, and once we have the funds to do more projects, then, that's the problem with, what we do. Everybody's project depends on money.
Yep.
When you get money together, you can do this. You get this much money, you can do this. You get more money, you can do this. So
the pandemic just screwed us up really bad.
It really did, because we had just shot the trailer. You guys have seen the trailer. We had just shot the trailer, and we were, set it because we had shot it December 2019. Well, guess what happened? We had the pandemic. I'm pretty sure the pandemic was created just to stop the vampire line.
Say that.
I know, but hey, Anyways, it's all good. But that's how we all met.
And that's why I admire you both as a writer. That book that you got, man, I financed it myself. And when I start adapting some tales or something, man, thank you. No. For me, it's a blessing that you got the book. I don't know how are you doing with the Spanish? I don't know. I had to say
I haven't had time. I haven't had time. We're going to work on it. We will, but our Spanish is like non-existent.
Sorry.
But don't apologize.
No. We sent you books in English. You sent us a book in Spanish because that's what we do.
Yes, and that's why I admire you.
This is to us.
Yes, to us.
To us. By another fabulous writer.
So we just have to be able to read it.
And we will get there.
It's okay. And also I will be able to read all your books. I was finishing the guide. Man, I'm having so much work, but I cannot wait for this to be beautiful.
That's really, there's a lot of characters in Dark Army.
Now, one of the things with Dark Army, one of the other many things with Dark Army, is that in this particular instance,
don't you have a glossary?
Yes, in the very back. You will notice in the back of the book, the very back, there's a glossary
of characters,
of all of the characters and the stuff that goes on. So if you have a question, if you read somebody and you go, I don't remember that character,
it's in the back.
They're all there. Everybody.
Wow. I cannot wait. But that's why I admire you, both of you. I will translate to my friend Jhon. No más a creer. A Tim lo conocieron en Facebook.
Yes.
Tim, es que no más a creer quién fue la persona que estuvo en medio que llevó a que todo se diera. Bueno, a Ana es porque la conocieron como que en un proyecto que ya estaba por ahí, porque ellos siempre quisieron llevar a cabo el proyecto One for Nine, financiado por ellos, lo que parece increíble. Papu, es que si te cuento que fue John Vogel el que le presentó a Jim Blano,
Wow.
yes,
John Vogel.
fue porque fue gracias a Tim los presentó, creo que se iba a hacer el proyecto con él, al fin como que pues por proyectos John se alejó, pero muy fácil, a ti te encanta ese actor, entonces es que es una locura, porque todo lo financiaron, salió el tráiler, obviamente, y él dice ahí ellos dicen en forma de chiste que la pandemia mató un poco Vampire Line, pero obviamente dice que no, que es una broma, pero todo fue financiado de esa manera increíble por ellos. Me llevaron a ese momento tan bello de muestra mi libro, porque es que yo les dije que los admiro, porque yo financié mi libro, al igual que tú has hecho tus cosas, y al igual que ellos yo deseo financiar cuando sea adaptado. Y nada, aquí ¿Lo viste, John? Hay un glosario, página 564. I'm telling John that he searched for the glossary. John, ahí está la lista de todos los personajes. Dice que si se tiene alguna pregunta, sí, que si se tiene alguna pregunta sobre ellos, que se haga. Yo ya les dije la verdad que pues estoy terminando el guide, que está ocupado, que no puedo esperar a llegar a Dark Army. Dice que hay muchos personajes, pero yo creo que quiero que nos cuente más sobre Banished Worlds. Dile tú, Leilo.
Bueno, dígale tú y yo le complemento.
No, dime y yo le complemento.
Bueno, yo sé que esto es un Banished World. Lo que me da curiosidad es la manera en cómo están retratados como en líneas paralelas. Entonces, no sé si me dicen entender. Entonces, la idea es preguntarle sobre cómo ha revolucionado un poco la escritura para ellos respecto a este tema. Y también cómo se ve influenciada y mezclada con el terror. O sea, ¿qué cambios han tenido ellos respecto a ello?
Okay. Now we need to talk about Banished Worlds.
Okay.
It's something because I haven't read it. I don't know if John started, but we want to know what are the key elements of this book. Maybe that differentiate for this. But the thing is that I got few references about, because I don't want to compare him with any book and any author, but this book really intrigues me. So what can we find when we started reading that will be soon? And in fact, when I end reading those books, I will tell you my thoughts. So don't worry. I'll tell you what I think about Vampire Line. When I ended the guy that I know I will be ended soon, I will let you know. And of course, I will let you know about this beautiful spot. Tell us what can we wait from Banished Worlds.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay. So in Banished Worlds, you meet Harry Danbo. He's the main character, and it's a futuristic story. It happens in space. Okay, so this is all, banished. The Banished Worlds part of it is that in the far future they use planets, an entire planet, for a prison. So if you're a criminal, if you're a murderer, they drop you on a murderer planet. So it's just murderers. There's no exiting the planet. Banished Worlds, Harry's he used to be an agent for the government. Well, they go grab him off of the planet he was on. He wasn't on a murderer planet, but they grab him off of the planet he's on, and they send him on a quest. They say, hey, if you do this job for us, when this job is done, you will be off of the prison planet and you can go out about your normal life.
Why he was there in the first place.
Why he was on the prison planet?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so he ended up on the prison planet because he did. He went out and he had somebody program this ship for him so he could go rescue these people, and then he got in trouble for it, and he didn't turn on the guy that helped him. So then when he gets on this planet, they send him down with a crew of people, right? When he gets pulled off to go do this job, they send him down with a crew of people to go rescue this girl, okay?
Because it crashed.
Well, she didn't crash by accident. So through the story, what you get is the Harry keeps running into problems, right? First, they send him to this planet, and they tell him it's going to be this way, and that's why we're sending you to this planet, because you'll know how to handle it. Then he gets there, and it's not the situation that they expect. His crew that he gets sent there with, they get distributed everywhere, except, for one other person. Well, so then he has to, and there's a time limit. They had only 7 days to do this. They had to do this within a week and get back off of the planet, because they were on the planet, and then, well, they didn't know it at the time, but the government was going to destroy the planet. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of things going on in that story.
Wow.
And that's book 1. Book 2 is called Banished Worlds, Maya's story.
I haven't even read that one yet.
In book 2, one of the characters, Maya Roberts, right, is an agent like Harry, Well, they become partners in book 1, and then they survive book 1. Well, book 2 is she takes on a job that he was going to do, but then he gets hurt. So she takes on the job. So the story in book 2 follows Maya's storyline. So it's a whole other different thing. Now, in the whole Banished Worlds family, there's 2 other stories. One is called Bellamy Eden, which ties into what happens in book 2 on Maya's story. And then there's Esther Fusion, which ties in with the Esther Fusion, which ties in with Bellamy Eden's storyline.
And Esther Fusion is a screenplay. It's not a published manuscript.
Right. We're trying to get that one made into a movie, but we just, time and effort.
Have you ever read a screenplay?
Just
Have?
it's crazy because before this interview, I was saying goodbye to an uncle that was also in this channel. It's called Herman Castro, and we always say he's the crazy one in the family because he's a screenplay.
Screenwriter. Okay.
Yes,
Screenwriter.
but from theater. In fact, he was the only one in the 90s that kept the biggest theaters in my city, keep working. And it's sad because he came back to the city. He doesn't live now here, and we see that theaters closed or being used as office from the government, and it's sad. But I know what is to grow with somebody who grows placement, and I always thank him. In fact, I was saying goodbye to him, and he was on the channel to get the interviews in Spanish. But I will translate. I will summarize to my friend everything that you say. No, in fact, I will let you to Jhon some hints so he can read Banished Worlds, because the sole idea of planets as prisons. Jhon, te voy a decir la idea para que lo vayas a leer de una. Banished Worlds. En 7 días hay una orden de ejecución a alguien.
Wow.
Voy a decir, los planetas son prisiones. Resulta que en Banished Worlds 1 se encuentran, porque sí hay líneas paralelas, claro, tienes toda razón. Hay un personaje que se conoce con otro. Pues, no, obviamente, no cero spoiler. No se sabe si sobrevive, no se sabe. La cuestión es que mientras se intenta ejecutar esa orden, Jhon, se viene Banished Worlds 2, que en realidad es una obra, es un guión, de hecho lo tiene ahí, donde se resuelve qué pasa con esos 2 personajes y si se destruyen o no. O sea, 7 días para que haya una catástrofe universal. Y planetas, y la sola idea de planetas como cárceles, a mí eso me emociona. Yo creo que ya sabemos lo importante de The Rory, de Banished Worlds, de Vampire Line, que le prometí, ¿no? Que cuando yo lea los libros de voy a decir lo que opino, yo ya le dije lo que opino de Vampire Line. No sé, continúa, mi amigo, lo que tú quieras preguntar. Que están intentando financiar esa película Banished Worlds, tú sabes, es complicado, pero sabemos que va a quedar.
Pero se puede. Bueno, esta pregunta es como para recalcar, y es ¿cómo ha evolucionado la escritura de ambos respecto al terror, respecto al misterio? Y si en todos los libros que ellos tienen han podido cumplir todos sus objetivos, o hay algo en el que se pueda complementar como un recordéis de lo que son ustedes en su esencia.
Compleja pregunta, pero la intentaré hacer. Okay, going back to the guy, their latest works published, because I know that there is some unpublished. How do you feel like the progression in your teens, your writing, but also what are maybe that one subject or thing that you say, oh, we haven't talked about this, we need to write about this, I think that will be the next step. I don't know, tell us.
what would be the progression in the story? Is that what?
Yes, like in the progression from in the first to the last one, like in subjects, in styles, in things, and what is the thing also that you feel, oh, we haven't write about this, oh, this maybe is like in a harvesting, and maybe we will write about this subject. I don't know. In the whole vastness of your career, what is the one thing that you say, we will later write?
One of the things that's happening in the guide, because there are a couple of other guide stories, but one of the things that's happening, I really won't touch on because of, it hasn't been written. Well, it's written in my computer, but it isn't out there, so I don't really want to go into details on it. But when it comes out, and it will eventually, but when it comes out, I think it'll blow people's minds, because in the guide currently, right, you have Eddie, he's the newest member of the guide. He becomes a vampire, and he doesn't want to be a vampire. He doesn't want that life, right? He tries to kill himself, and it doesn't work, So he ends up accepting that that's what he is. And then through that progression and the people that he meets in the story, he grows to be a very powerful vampire. And you have, in my opinion, right, and of course I'm the author, but you have this arc with him where you go from nothing, he's just he works in a warehouse before this, he's got a human sister, he's got a human best friend and his best friend's wife, and their normal lives, and he's kind of the four of them, he's kind of the screw up, he's usually behind on his rent or whatever, normal human problems, until he gets to be, until he turns, and then he gets brought into the guide, and they start training him and teaching him, and he ends up on a different level then. But as far as the progression goes, he gets to be a very powerful vampire, and he's going to be, I will give you one piece, he will be sort of a crossover character between the group, the guide, and the followers of Delvar, because he will have access to both sides. But that's not the main thing that's going to be happening in the story. That's just something that's in the road. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I hope so.
Perfectly. In fact, I will translate to my friend Jhon. Pues increíblemente, y espero eso responda a tu pregunta, porque obviamente hablas de progresión, pero también de temas que seguro faltan, pues no me vas a creer cuál fue el tema que todavía él lo tiene redactado, pero él todavía está pensando, ¿será que lo publico o no? Jhon, va a haber el crossover entre las dos órdenes de The Guy. ¿En qué sentido? Eddie, tú sabes que empieza muy débil, después se vuelve poderoso, pero parece que al parecer, él vuelve a un estado normal. Él, digamos que, en palabras groseras, es el más jodido ahí. Pues Jhon, probablemente él se mueva al lado oscuro. Pero él dice que le da como cosa publicarlo, en el sentido de que sabe que eso volará la mente a cualquiera, porque hay muchas más historias en The Guide, pero esa es la historia, y que obviamente mostraría toda la progresión de lo que se ha hecho, porque sería como ya el crossover definitivo de sus obras, ¿no? Y en la visión que ellos tienen del terror. Analicemos eso, porque yo sé que tú quieres eso para tu tema específico. Imagínate que un personaje que tú hayas creado desde un principio, de repente haya tenido que pasar un proceso tan largo. Tú sabes que la de la guía es cronológico. O sea, puedes tener 6 o 60 años, digamos que ahorita de tener 30 años, 20 años. De repente él se tenga que mover en el tiempo para el otro lado, acabar otra vez con las oportunidades que se le dio como humano, de pronto, no sé. ¿Eso responde a tu pregunta, no?
Sí.
You will say, as a final question, why we were arguing is because I was telling that you already tell us the last time John, what he was going to ask that if you somehow drink with your character, you tell us that no, you never drink with them. Then he was going to ask how the ideas come off, and you tell us. But this is a great question as a final question.
Mm-hmm.
What if a new writer appears and somehow reach to you from all the amazing characters that you had created?
Mm-hmm.
What will be the key character for them to say, this is like a great example of how to create and develop just a character for you to start reading it and start your career or to write? One of the you can say one of the characters that you create or another character that you know from another source, but I prefer one of yours.
One of our characters that somebody would be interested in writing from and write.
Yes, and learn how to create characters.
Wow.
How to create it? How to create a character?
They're using. They would be using the character, one of our characters, as like an example.
Yes,
like an example. One of the most complicated characters in Dark Army, right, is God, what is Dalton's wife's name? 1 second. No.
Oh,
Bencel. One of the main characters in Dark Army is Bencel. Bencel started life off as a child being taught to be a warrior and an assassin. Well, then she has a twin sister, and they end up in a fight that they think is to the death. They both kill each other. But then what you find out, one of the things that you find out through the story is that it's a sword fantasy story, but it has elements of time travel in it because way in their future, the people there have the ability to go back in time. They go back in time, collect Bencel, heal her injuries, fix her injuries. Then they send her out as their agent. So she's one of the most complicated characters in the story, and she's only 17 years old when the story starts.
And it's crazy that you tell us about time traveling, because I'm reading here that you also wrote Descent into the Maelstrom. Descent into the Maelstrom.
Oh, Descent into the Maelstrom? Yeah.
But
that's a different can of worms. We don't really do anything with that. We did. Okay. A friend of ours wrote a screenplay, right? Descent into the Maelstrom. Then he asked us if we could convert that screenplay into a novel, into a book, which we did. Okay. Now, he ended up filming Descent, but he changed the name, and I don't know what he changed the name to, but he changed the name, but then he didn't use any of the things that we put in Descent into the Maelstrom.
To his movie.
To his movie.
None of it.
And one of the things that's really interesting to me was that a couple of people we know, that's the set that we met Anna, okay?
That's where we met Anna.
Right. Okay. So a couple of the people that we need, and we still talk to these people, a couple of the people that were on there
on the set, the actors.
They read our book and they read his script, and they're going, I used your book in how to establish my character, because there's so much more detail on my character in your book than there was in the screenplay, which normally books have more detail. You have more room for detail. But, it was, we took it as a compliment when an actor tells us, the character that we have for the script, we used the information from your book to try to make that character more real.
And it's on Amazon, but it's not an active book to buy because Neil has said, no, you cannot sell it.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to go with the name, but good job.
Oops, it's on the book.
Oh, that's true.
And before I translate, do you want to continue talking about themselves? Sorry if I ask you that, but I really like it. I think it's beautiful. Was it not only beautiful, but it's great to know that that was the place and the circumstances to know Anna. But you want to continue talking about Vincent before they...
About...
Vincent.
Oh,
yes.
Well, I mean, she was an amazing character. She still is. I don't know what else to tell you. She becomes a healer, you know, from being born and trained to be an assassin. She becomes a healer, and she's a warrior in both, you know, as both. And she just kicks people's ass, you know. She's tough. And okay, so Dalton, right? He's the main character in Dark Army. Okay, you follow Dalton through most of the storylines. At one point, and there's a sword fight, he thinks he needs to defend her because he doesn't really know her as well, and he thinks he needs to defend her. And in trying to defend her, he ends up getting he loses his left eye. He gets cut by a sword and loses his left eye, you know, because if he left the fight alone, she would have been fine. But he got hurt from that. But it brings in a whole other different storyline on, because there's a prophecy in the book that the people talk about where the person that's going to, you know, face the bad guy and fix the problems is the person with singular vision. Well, what's somebody that lost an eye? They got one eye, right? So anyways, they end up as a couple in the story. So that's part of it. And it's a whole thing. There's a whole, you know, there's even some very sad things that happen in the story. But it's a story, and that's, you know, you have to have good and bad to make the story interesting, I think.
And here's a little tidbit. Dark Army is 560 some pages.
Yeah.
We originally sent it to an agent, a publisher, and they sent it back to us and said that it wasn't enough.
It was too short.
It was too short. So Grant took book, it was supposed to be a trilogy, 3 books. Grant took book 1 and 2 and made it into this.
Yeah.
So this is technically 2 books in 1.
Yeah.
I will translate faster because time is running off.
Okay.
Jhon, es una locura. Personaje favorito, Vincent, de Dark Army. Intentaré no hacer el spoiler, pero hay una cuestión de viajes en el tiempo. Intentaré. Don't worry, because you don't spoil anything. In fact, you opened my imagination in the fact that I was listening and I was saying, no, I not only need to read it, but I really wanted to see adapted in another media, like some video game or some movie or some series, because I really love all the lore of all the characters.
Oh,
and when
this would be an expensive movie.
Oh, yeah.
or a video game. Imagine it's like I don't know,
video game, yeah.
an RPG or MMORPG, or even I don't know, like a
sure.
war game.
Interesting video game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jhon, hay una cuestión de viajes en el tiempo y eso me hizo preguntarles por Descending the Maelstrom. Jhon, hay una historia que agridulce, no diré nombres, pero sí de lo bueno que surgió ahí. Lo que pasa es que esto fue una cuestión de una persona, un escritor, no diré el nombre, que les pidió adaptar como que una idea de él a un guión. Ellos escribieron el guión, pero Jhon, cuando fue adaptado el guión a cine, no respetaron las ideas de ellos, pero hay que es muy increíble. Resulta que, uno, la grabación de ese proyecto es que conocieron a Ana. 2, todos los actores de ese proyecto dijeron, venga, ustedes son los que escribieron el libro. Sí. Dijeron que era una falta de respeto que no hayan respetado el libro original porque todos lo leyeron. Es que precioso. Dice que el libro está publicado, pero solo en Amazon, por órdenes de la otra persona que le escribió mal, obviamente no diré el nombre. Esto no lo van a sacar impreso, pero ahí conoció a Nara. Y yo no diré más de Army, pero hay viajes en el tiempo. Hay cuestiones. Ahí lo único que nos dijeron es que sí, el personaje, Vincent, que es el personaje favorito de ellos, por la cuestión del viaje en el tiempo, porque se vuelve una sanadora. Y otra cuestión que no puedo decir porque es un spoilerazo. Ella es la que después está saliendo con el personaje llamado Dalton, que es el personaje principal. Dice que ellos no habían pensado incluso que Dark Army fuera un videojuego o algo, pero es larguísimo. Y quieres enloquecerte, cuando ellos envió las 500 páginas, es tan bueno el libro que el editor le dijo, está muy corto. Hicieron 3 libros y los 2 primeros libros honestos. Amigo, felicitarlos. Al aplauso.
Bravo.
¡Bravo!
Yes, you're most certainly part of our family as far as tying into the books.
Yeah.
I did have a question for Jhon. Didn't I just see in media, in the online media, where he got an award recently?
I will ask him, Jhon.
Yes, please.
¿Es verdad, pregunta de Grant, tú ganaste un premio recientemente o es lo de la cuestión de lo de tu festival, lo de tu corto en festivales?
Bueno, es la nominación en Suecia, pero estoy en selección oficial en Barcelona. Espero ganarlo, pues esa es la idea, ¿no?
I really need to ask him that because the last thing I know from Jhon is that yes, he was nominated on a festival on Sweden, but now he's nominated on a festival on Barcelona.
Well, congratulations.
For the nomination, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to, because I didn't know. Jhon, te felicito, no sabía lo de Barcelona del todo.
You got to hear it from the United States, and he didn't tell you.
No, but because it's crazy. I know that his short film that I freaking love is he got like 6. Jhon, tú ya tienes 6 sellos, ¿no? Tienes 6 certificados, ¿no? 6 invitaciones a festivales, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes, and he got like 6 invitations to festivals, which is amazing. But I didn't know about the nomination in Barcelona. I kind of know, but not everything. So of course I want to congratulate him also. Oh, he's my friend. And yes, we got 4 minutes, so a bit high, say social media, the information, and we will take the
los libros.
And yes, to always keep reminding people to buy your boots. We will never get tired of that, but go ahead, say it, both of you.
Well, from this end, what we would love to see happen, right? You look our names up on Amazon. You can find us. We're on the net. YouTube. We have, YouTube. The trailer is out there on our website, workmansimaginations.50meg.com. We would really like to see at some point, when Vampire Line moves more forward, maybe we can do a group interview with everybody. You guys, Anna, Tim, Gene, everybody all at once. If you guys would be good with that idea. I mean, Tim's amazing, Anna's amazing, Gene is amazing, Gene's amazing. So that's what we want to say.
Both of you are amazing.
Yeah.
And both of you are amazing. No, in fact, before I end this, I will tell Jhon, yo sé que vas a decir que sí, cuando Vampire Line salga como tal, tú quieres tener otra vez aquí a Tim, a Ana, a Gran y a Gene, a todos. He say all of you. Yes. So I will tell this before this end. We got 2 minutes. Oof. Tim is a personal hero of mine. Like I say, I grew watching his movies. Yes, even the ones, the softcore ones. With low volume, I was just a teenager. And when Tim introduced you to both of you, it was like, wow. Anna, for me, was like an angel. Like I say, the most beautiful witch.
Gorgeous.
She's gorgeous and wonderful.
The most beautiful witch I had ever seen on Vampire. And Gene, I know it was a crazy day because I didn't know that the schedule from Ron.
Right, Ron Kelly.
And he was, and Gene, we know that he was sad for something that happened, but we did happen something. I need to he needs to realize how amazing he is, because even a fan of his work appears, you know, the one that need a high from him, and that you showcase his talent for me was amazing. I was watching, of course, some of the works previously, of course, also thanks to you, we know the amazing Jhon in Domina, but no, man, of course, we want to see all these people here gathered. We got 1 minute, so thank you.
Thank
You're
you
on
very
the-
much.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having the interview. Thanks for making all the connections on this. You guys are fantastic.
Yep.
You know, we love working with you guys.
My
You
pleasure.
know
Maybe
anybody who wants to make movies, let us know.
Maybe one of these days we'll get all together in person.
I will tell it in Spanish before this end. La gente que quiera hacer películas con ellos, por favor, háganlo.
Por favor.
Of
Okay.
course.
Of course.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye
I love
bye.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day, guys.
Yo.